Hey guys, this is CADMA here from Bitten Apple TV. We are here in conjunction with It Came From the Radio. We are here at Suffolk Comic Expo. That's right. Thank you, Phil, for having us here. We're very proud to be the official press for this event. I'm very, very much excited. I'm sitting here with JC Vaughn, who apparently I've learned that there are vampires out in Pennsylvania. I'm worried now because my grandmother lives out there now, and apparently Texas has zombies, and we're going to be learning a little bit more about all these books. Now, you were just telling me that you based this out of a theater that was from your original home, a town that was like a town over from you.
Yeah, I grew up in Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh. One town over is Dormont, one of the oldest suburbs in the Pittsburgh area, and there was a great movie theater called the South Hills Movie Theater. It was old-fashioned enough that it had a stage in front of the screen. I saw the local children's show host there do an introduction of things when I was real little. It's a place where I saw Young Frankenstein and a whole bunch of other great movies. And then for years it was abandoned. Then it was turned into, they split it into 4 theaters. Thank goodness I never saw that. But it was one of those grand old movie places that had a balcony and everything. And it was an excellent place to see pictures as a kid. And then after it was abandoned again, I drove by it many times, and I had this thought, which I guess everybody would. What if there's vampires in there? And the story just sort of grew from there about Dean, who is a HVAC repairman, who discovers that it's infested with vampires, and then accidentally discovers he's very good at killing them. And there turned out to be a lot of vampires in Dormont, and the story went from there.
Okay, so I gotta admit, I like the fact that he's just like your average Joe. He's out there just trying to fix your heater, your air conditioner, and he's like, I can kill vampires. Pretty good at it. Put that on my resume. When it came to really sitting down, writing down the protagonist, what's your favorite aspect of him? Is it the fact that he's like, your average Joe, or?
It's definitely the average guy, and this goes for me whether it's war stories or 9/11 story or anything where the average guy is forced to step up, maybe unwillingly, maybe he didn't know it was his calling all along. I find that to be the compelling story, and that whether it's a man or a woman as your central character, I think that's the appealing thing to me. I similarly did the same thing with the title character in Zombie Proof. His name's Billy Bob Drywall, which will tell you that I don't super take everything real seriously. But the action is played totally seriously. It's not done funny. Their dialogue may be funny. To me, that was like the best part about reading Spider-Man as a kid, as that he's fighting these deadly foes, but he was making wisecracks, right? And so that's sort of where I am with my central characters. They're making wry observations, sometimes to get themselves through the situation.
Let's be honest with ourselves. We all talk to ourselves at some point. Anyone who says they don't talk to themselves is lying.
When we start answering.
That's the biggest concern. So you have this hot mama who's obviously a vampire. Tell me about her. What is going on with her?
Okay, her name is Jocelyn Elder, named after the former Surgeon General, who she is not. And she is this typical comic book vampire. So every time she shows up, she is dressed provocatively. And finally, Dean's girlfriend, Dee Dee, says, where could she be going in Dormont dressed like that? Because I've always wanted to have somebody tell me that. Like, I grew up watching the Hammer films and all this stuff, and there's all these sexy women, but not at all practical. And you spend enough time in the world and you start thinking about how does that work practically? And yeah, I was a big Vampirella fan, but come on. So
you're obviously not going grocery shopping. How did no one find you?
And there's a place or one line where Dee Dee says where she can be dressed like that in Dormont, and Dean says Jose and Tony's for tacos, which is a real Dormont place, and because it's just absurd, and I just have a little bit of fun with that. But she is the head vampire. They occasionally have a truce because she's using him to eliminate her foes.
She's very smart, I see.
Absolutely, and she's hundreds of years old, and looks like a hot mama, and yet, she's a vampire. She's a bad guy, but she's sort of creative.
I like that. Now for Zombie Proof. How did is our poor locksmith there? What's going on?
Yeah, Billy Bob is one of my favorite characters. He really just was ostracized after high school when he let people find out accidentally. The wrong people overheard him talking about his visions that his town was going to be attacked by zombies. And now he's been ostracized for 20 years, but he is a successful locksmith and he is the only one in town. And he finds that everybody starts coming to him as the world starts falling apart because there's a zombie apocalypse.
Well, that's a great way to stick it to people. Like, I told you it was going to happen.
It absolutely is. And his high school sweetie is married to his arch nemesis. Who's the mayor?
Mayor versus locksmith. My money's going to be on locksmith.
It's a safe bet.
So what are the sort of quirky elements that you put in the book? Because I know as a locksmith, you got to have something very quirky situations that are occurring out there in Texas.
Well, one of the great things is there's the town itself. One of the older ladies that works for the town keeps on getting locked in this one room, and they keep on having him come out to open it, but won't pay him to replace the lock. And it's just a little comment about how government works. You know, it's not left or right. It's just, I've been to the DMV. I know how this goes. And that kind of thing.
I like your sense of humor. I like your style. Now, every person when you're creating these characters, the protagonist usually is not the favorite character. So there's always some side character. It's always like Dave from the coffee shop. Who's your favorite, personally, out there in Vampire, PA?
In Vampire, PA, there's Dean's boss at his day job, which he's trying to keep while fighting vampires at night, is a guy named Scuba Dave. And he's called Scuba Dave because he once talked about taking a scuba vacation. That's just that's about it. There's a bunch of characters. I really do like Dean the best. He's a great character because he is this total everyman. There is nothing special about him except he's good at killing vampires.
I like his name only because of the fact that it's like Scuba Dave, because that's exactly how nicknames work. One person says one thing, you're like, there's a ring to it. Like, no, that's not the name that it's stuck. So now you're also doing the Stargate series now. Well, you have a lot going on here at your table, and I love it.
Stargate Universe, we did 6 issues, which has just been collected into a trade paperback. We're hoping to do more. It's a bit out of our control. My co-writer Mark Haynes and I. And we have also done 12 issues of Stargate Atlantis. The first trade paperback's out now. The second one's just about to come out. And it's been a blast because we got to pick up right where both of those shows left off and continue them from there. We've had great reactions from cast members and other people. We just attended GateCon in Vancouver last month, and it was a blast. And the reactions from the cast members was just like they really want their character to be next to get featured and things like that. It was really a blast.
Oh, that's how you know you're putting something together really beautiful when the cast are like, hey, so when am I going to be in the book? Okay, so you're covering from like horror with a smidge of comedy. How do you manage writing from one genre to the next genre?
That's a great question. The truth is, I don't know how not to. But it's also hard to get accepted for doing one and then break out of that. If you look at some really great writers, really great directors, you'll see they get pigeonholed very quickly. Part of the benefit for me is my day job in comics is I run the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. So I'm not beholden to take a gig just to need the gig. I have a good day job that I love. Unlike a lot of people, the day job's just to get through it, right? Right?
No comment.
Yeah, but not that any of us could ever relate to that, right? But I'm real fortunate that I love it. I have a blast doing what I do. So I can be more selective in the gigs I take on the side. And so, which is, you'll see the preponderance of my stuff is creator owned, or something like Stargate that I really want to do. And it's just, I'm a fan. Some of the Stargate comics that came out from other publishers previously are a little lacking. Like they're good mechanically, but they don't have the passion for Stargate. That, like, they had the passion for the gig, not for being a Stargate fan getting the gig.
That's actually where everything changes, because you can tell when someone, like, I'm an actress, so I can tell when there's an actor who's like, okay, great, I got the job, and then like that's it. And then I can see someone who's like, I really feel for this project. I can feel for the character.
Feel called to it, right?
You can see it even as a fan, as a viewer, whether you're the actor. It doesn't matter where you are. You can see someone who's like, whoa, they're really into this. They understand it. They have the passion for it.
As opposed to phoning it in or doing their best, but it's not their thing. You know, somebody can be absolutely doing their good, and there's nothing wrong with this story. But we had a reviewer on Stargate Atlantis describe it as the best continuation of a TV show in comic book form that he'd ever read. Now, I should have paid for some billboards with that, but the truth is, that's like one of the greatest reviews I ever got, and that's exactly where you're doing it. When Mark and I were writing 24 based on the TV show, we got that from the Fox people. That was really great. The show people, we didn't know any of the cast, but the producers and directors were very complimentary about it. And you can imagine, you feel like you're really hitting it when you get that.
So I also have to ask you about McCandless. Yeah, what's going on over there?
It's a story about two female private detectives from different walks of life. One is very wealthy upbringing and one is very poor. And they become best friends while they're working, actually in college, but while they end up working for a major investigation firm that just treats them like cogs. And they go out and form their own. There you have a guy who works for them who's basically trying to save up to take a year off to write, which many writers have had that dream. And it's fun. I haven't done a lot of them, but I've done several over the years. We're going to do a collection of the short episodes in the spring. We're going to do that as a Kickstarter.
Does he ever get that 1-year vacation he's looking for?
Yeah, I really can't say. I can't say that it's going to be horrible.
Oh boy. It goes to out there, all the writers out there. You might want to save up for 2 years.
Affleck.
Okay, life just got real. What I do like about your style is the fact that you have a very human way of approaching it. Now, before we did the interview, you were talking about like the styles of being able to present tragedy, but also providing the light of hope.
I really think that if I could come up with a defining characteristic, that I really appreciate the adjective human, because I love superhero comics. I mean, I'm still in this business because of superhero comics. I started out with it as a little kid, and I've stuck with it all these years because I love superhero comics. But it's not what I write for the most part. And the humanity of what do we do in good situations? What do we do in horrible situations?
I'm sorry. It turns out that Billy Bob was not here in time, and there were some zombies who came in. It got real serious. There were vampires from Pennsylvania visiting. We're good though. The locksmith's made it zombie proof.
The thing that we were saying, I don't want to sound pretentious about it, because my approach to a story is no better than anybody else's approach to a story. I'm not saying that. But for me to have appeal, I really want to see the human experience in tough situations, romantic situations, crazy, dangerous situations, silly situations, because there's enough drama in our lives, in the real world, that all we're doing is trying to create a different way to tell a story about people. The minute we forget that the story's about people or events, we've lost it.
So for those who are obviously as hooked as I am when it comes to, if you haven't watched Stargate, you need to get into Stargate and then read his books at the same time. Like, you don't understand. There's a whole world out there that you're just missing out on. You want to learn about vampires out in Pennsylvania. They want to learn about how to zombie-proof their homes if they're in Texas. Where can they come find you, Vaughn?
Zombie Proof and Vampire PA are both available through local comic shops that are carried by Diamond Comic Distributors. The American Mythology, who is our publisher, has them on their web store, or you can find them on Amazon.
You guys got to get these books, and I can only imagine a person who's in Pennsylvania right now, who's next to that town, going, "This looks familiar. Is that the old movie theater that used to be open?" Like,
I will say that I had at least one customer from Dormont, and I was so excited about that because I want somebody else who remembers that theater too. So
that theater is living in the book now with vampires. You better look out for her. Thank you so much. Keep up the passion, and this is someone you guys want to like learn from and also read from, just because you're putting your passion into what you're doing, and that's really what this is about. You're not just gonna like, oh, this is a nice check. Thanks, guys. Make sure you guys stay in tune and get those books.
Thanks so much.